California is the most beautiful, broken place in America.
20% of the national economy is in California. For California to fail would be devastating to the American economy.
We have a Texas DNA that we can't deny.
We may want to take a bunch of y'all's companies, but we like y'all.
California, when they decide they want to come back into the ring and they're fit and they have trained and they're ready to bring that title of best economic climate in America back, they're going to be hard to beat. But right now, they're out of shape, they're out of breath. I hope they're not out of ideas, because that state has the potential to again boom and blossom.
And hello, everybody. I'm Jeff Michael. I want to welcome you to Saving the California Dream. That's what we've been calling our continuing series here on Fox 11. And frankly, it's what we hope to get a little bit closer to doing tonight. A look at what's going wrong with California and how to fix it. Since the beginning, we've been telling you about California companies that are either moving to or expanding in Texas. So our series producer, Heidi Cuda, went to Texas to see what the Lone Star State has been doing right. Heidi.
That's right. Texas created more jobs than any other state last year, nearly 300,000. That number is about 20% of all jobs created in the entire country. When I went to Texas, the consensus was clear. Everyone I spoke with credited Governor Rick Perry's leadership for fostering the state's growth during some of the toughest times on record.
This place was truly economically depressed. We passed a budget with a $10 billion budget shortfall without raising taxes. We had regulatory reform that was starting to go in place, and we passed the most sweeping tort reform in the nation. We've built on that over the decade of the 2000s to the point now where people know that they can come here, they can risk their capital. There will not be a regulatory burden upon them. We look after our people, our environment, our water, our air. As a matter of fact, we cleaned up our air more than any other state in the nation during the decade of the 2000s, at the same time creating more jobs. I want to make my state as competitive as I can be so that the citizens of this state can do anything that they want to do, that they can risk their capital, know they're going to have a chance to have a return on the investment, that they're not going to be over-regulated or over-litigated.
It's the competitor in you that will pick up the phone and call California CEOs and Illinois CEOs and say, hey, why don't you come check us out over here? I
love competition, and competition's what makes you stronger. And I will suggest to you freedom from over-taxation and over-regulation, over-litigation, freedom from government's control in your life is a powerful inducement. And the reason that people have moved to Texas over the last decade.
If I were Governor Brown sitting in this chair, what is the one thing that you would like to tell him?
Don't worry about getting reelected. Worry about doing what's right for your state. Sit down with the House and the Senate and say, listen, we're going to put a part-time legislature into place. And at that particular point in time, Governor Brown, who is a very smart and capable man, can put the spending restraints in place. And the idea that you can't make the reductions over a period of time with spending cuts, that you've got to raise taxes, no, you don't. I don't believe that for a minute. You can. It will be difficult. There will be a lot of squalling and whining and gnashing of teeth. If the last decade is a good way to judge whether or not these principles work or not, I think it's almost inarguable that the Texas way of doing things is working better than the California way of doing things.
You know, you can't argue with success. You're about to meet one man who left Texas 20 years ago to live the California dream, but in an open letter to Governor Brown, he explains why he's now planning to leave that dream behind.
The reality is, look, I work very, very hard to create this. None of it was given to me. I came for the California dream. I moved from a 0% state tax, Texas, 20 years ago to California. I knew exactly what I was getting into. I paid millions of dollars in state taxes without any resentment to that. It's been a fair exchange. But at some point, I'm like, I can't even plan anymore. I wouldn't have a problem with an increase in taxes if where the money was going, the people were responsible. These people are irresponsible.
What got you to the point that you actually sat down and wrote that letter to Governor Brown?
When Jerry Brown comes out and says, hey, I'm going to go to 13.5% on anybody that makes over $1 million, I'm like, this is enough. I write this man a letter, I can't get a response from his office. I can go to Texas, I can go to Nevada. Nevada looks really good now. I can go to Florida where there's water and boats. I can go to all those places that want my business, that want my employees, that'll be like open arms. Please come here.
If you are actually serious about taking your family and moving out of state.
We've already put our house on the market.
If you could sum up California in 2012 in one sentence, what would it be?
California is the most beautiful, broken place in America.
Hey, you want to hear a little bit of Grant Cardone's letter to Governor Brown? Here it is. I understand that I love this state, but when enough people like me move out of this state, which I believe they will, the state will pay the ultimate price with higher unemployment, further erosion of housing prices, and less tax revenue. Grant Cardone is here in studio with us now. Grant, by the way, I just want to start off by saying, did you notice the difference in the way Heidi dressed when interviewing you and when interviewing Governor Rick Perry?
I noticed that.
Yeah,
and
she's in the ball cap, and with Perry, she's in the blue dress.
Because, you know,
That's
she knows I'm not
my dress that day. Okay?
I don't have to be
forgot
politically
my
correct.
dress.
I can say anything I want. I'm not running for office.
All right, let me just push back a little bit here. What is to say that Grant Cardone isn't just making an idle threat? You're gaining some publicity.
Well, that's a good question.
That's a good
question. But, you know, I'm from Louisiana originally, and we don't make a lot of idle threats
He actually sold his house.
If we say
he sold
if
his
we say
house.
we're going to knock your head off, it's probably coming off your shoulders. So I've already sold my house. It's in escrow. I'm already making plans to make the move. I'll be in Florida in 2 weeks getting a new driver's license.
And it's breaking my heart because he's got the most beautiful family that I would love to see here in California.
Look, we don't want to leave. It's not like, this was not my idea to leave, but when you take a guy like me that grinds and works, I'm not a rich guy. I've done extremely well. I'm very grateful, and I'm grateful to the state of California. But the reality is, you're talking about increasing my taxes 30%.
Your corporate taxes?
My
or
personal,
your personal
taxes. Okay?
But it hasn't happened yet. You're talking about Governor Brown's.
But he's got a 65% majority. You know they're going to get support for it, man. I mean, we keep doing dumb things over and over. We have the highest electricity in the country, the highest gasoline prices in the country, the highest unemployment in the country, the highest foreclosures except for one other state. We have more unemployed people than New Hampshire, Vermont, and what is it, one other state?
You may want to add real estate
Nevada.
to that, too.
Nevada.
And we got 20% of the people underwater in their homes. When I leave, this gets worse. When more people like me leave, it just gets worse, particularly for people that are earning $48,000 a year.
And the issue is, I said, you know,
good point.
Yeah.
If that 13% that they raise it to was going to go to fix the problem, he'd stay, right?
Yeah, if it fixed the problem. But all they're saying is, we want money from you now to fix problems that are years old. I mean, we're just throwing money into an empty hole that's endless.
Like a state pension system that's about to go over the cliff.
Yeah, what, $500 billion in state pensions unfunded?
Stick around, because we do have to go.
sticky.
Will you stay?
I'm sticky.
All right, man. Thanks very much. California may be asleep at the switch when it comes to the states competing for our business. But one economist tells us we don't appreciate the business we already have.
One thing you want to tell Governor Brown.
Stop treating people and businesses like they're infinitely taxable resources.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to our special Saving the California Dream with series producer Heidi Cuda. Trust me, she's done all the heavy lifting. I'm just here to get us moving. Have you ever heard the term global migration? Those two words should be sending chills down California's spine. Michael Cox from SMU in Texas is an expert in this global migration, and he says California better wake up because it isn't only other states trying to steal our business. We are competing with the world.
These successful people and successful companies, they don't have to stay in California. You can't trap them there. It's just a very attractive option for them to pack up and leave. They're not appreciated for what they provide for the state. We appreciate them here. Come on. We have a place for you right here. This is the new world.
What is the greatest lesson that California can learn from Texas right now?
Cut your taxes.
One thing you want to tell Governor Brown.
Stop treating people and businesses like they're infinitely taxable resources.
Yes, Eric's on the inside.
All right, joining us now are Eric Crown. Eric Crown, just got done talking to this gentleman, co-founder of Insight Enterprises. It's an IT company with revenue of over $5 billion and operations in 23 countries. Right next to him, Robert Parker, the CEO of Leasestation. It is an equipment financing company. And we are so happy to have both of you
and
here.
Let me give you a little bit more information. Parker moved his company from California to Arizona after we had him on our first special, and he was tapped to be a liaison between the Chinese government and American business ventures. Both Crown and Parker just returned from China this week.
Well, let's start with that since you just got back. What's up with trying to get China to come do business with us, or are they interested?
Well, after the piece on the Saving the California Dream, I was contacted by Xi Jinping, the incoming president of China, to say, would you guys like to build a delegation, come over here and learn a little bit about us? And one of the things that was impressed me when I was there is that he really believes in business, and he says that politicians should get out of the way of business, put business people in a room, and they'll develop business.
And we hear that over and over again, but what's interesting in Texas, the model that I've been studying, the politicians get in the same room with the business leaders, and those are Democrats and Republicans, but they have a singular goal of creating jobs.
Eric, why don't you take that? Because we met with a bunch of government.
Yeah, I mean, I was very impressed. I mean, they are so pro-business. When we sat down with these leaders, I mean, their first comment was not, their first question was, how can we help you? How can we make you grow your business bigger? How can we partner? How can we employ more people? How can we make you a success?
All right, well,
cool.
Rather than me pointing out the contradiction between communism and free enterprise, I'm just going to ask.
We were surprised too.
Yeah, it's a surprise to me. What does California need to do, Eric, to get that business and wrestle it away from other states?
The biggest thing is just make a business-friendly environment. Limit taxation, limit regulation. Regulation is good, but sometimes even regulation becomes bureaucratic. The regulation is quality.
How?
Politicians have to start listening. They have to start listening to the people that make a difference.
Well, you know what? Look, you're a billionaire. You did this in Arizona. You fought in 2003 and 2005. You've set up many different organizations to try to get the message to Arizona politicians.
Correct.
Did you? Did it work there?
In some cases it did, or at least it started to change the tone. We're slowly chipping away.
But California, if we just moved a little bit more, in these directions, if we didn't raise our taxes, if we made our regulations less sketchy, we'd actually be able to compete for some of that business, wouldn't we?
Heidi, one of the things when I moved my business, and now it's 18 months ago, believe it or not, to Arizona, the politicians reached out to me and actually said, let's have a meeting. In fact, it was up at Eric's house, and they came out and said, we'd love to.
Interesting. But we're going to pick up on that when we come back. One of the most interesting stories that Heidi brought back from Texas was about a handful of young Turks who helped transform the city of Austin.
It's not conservative, liberal, it's not Republican, Democrat, it's simply who can do a better job with your money. Is it the government or the individual?
Welcome back to our Saving the California Dream, everybody. We're just getting warmed up. I'm Jeff Michael. I'm here with series producer Heidi Cuda.
Yep. About a decade ago, a handful of young businessmen decided to take control of the destiny of their city, Austin, Texas, by creating an economic development corporation with the singular focus of luring business there. Thousands of jobs later, Austin is booming, and board member Tim Taylor tells us we could do it right here in California.
We could see that, Austin's future was really great if the business community could come together and form a way to support economic development in an Austin sort of way, so that we were out bringing business and jobs in that fit with Austin, that didn't hurt our environment, that we're always conscious about what we're doing. Does it fit Austin? Does it keep the green city? Does it keep the cool and things like that? So it was very focused and very intentional, and it's created tens of thousands of jobs now after a decade. Those of us that were doing that were sort of the young Turks. It's not conservative, liberal, it's not Republican, Democrat, it's simply who can do a better job with your money. Is it the government or the individual?
How do we do that in California? How do we get the private sector and the government to actually work together and get on the same page?
I guess you got to make the private sector like the government. And Austin,
make them like them physically, or?
Make them like them, get along with them, and not feel like they're the enemy. I mean, I know y'all have got a pretty highly regulated state, and I think that's one thing. Austin's pretty highly regulated, but the government regulation is, one of the ways we keep our balance that I was talking about with the environment.
So it's got to be pretty invigorating to see basically what's been accomplished over the last decade.
Everything I'm looking at right now out my window, this window of our conference room is new. All these buildings are new. The economy's back, and the cranes are back up in the sky again, and right there, dead ahead at City Home, you can see the National Bird of Texas.
Yes.
I love it.
Robert Parker, Eric Crown, plus now businessman again, Grant Cardone, all back with us. Now, I want to start with what your young Turks that you were talking about pointed out. You see the building, the cranes. Tell me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but it strikes me that's not the problem. We seem to do really well with government and business working in partnership when it comes to building Farmers Field, Staples Center, AEG, LA Live. It's just not very good when we talk about small business and operating.
Well, one of the things is if you look at our unemployment in California, I say our unemployment because I still live here, on the weekends. So I vacation here on weekends, but if you look at the unemployment, 8% of those people are non-college educated people. You're going to have to bring small business back in to put them back to work. You can't just cater to the large companies.
Well, that's if you don't have a big name, if you're not an Apple, a Facebook, the big names, they're not paying attention to you. The fact that I could write the governor a letter and can't get responded to. You see, that wouldn't happen in Austin. In Austin, I'd get a response.
But what's interesting, what you just said is so interesting to me because Apple, where's it growing? In Texas.
Yeah,
that's where they're putting in their 4,000
compound.
And
also, most of their investments are run out of Nevada, which means they don't pay state taxes in California, but they're so giant they could defend themselves. I can't defend myself against the state of California.
It was interesting in China. The incoming president was talking about, I can talk to the McDonald's, but really what I need to talk to is a small to medium-sized business. That's going to make China prosper.
That's coming from the
How
new
do I get
president
partnerships going with America? But he's dealing, the incoming president wants to deal with the small business and forsake the big business.
All right, so who do you organize? What do you do? I keep asking this question. Austin is a smaller town, a much smaller town than Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco.
Much more attractive to live there, cheaper for an individual, cheaper for employees. I can pay less money to somebody there.
But keep in mind, a decade ago they had all our same problems. So whether it's smaller, all the same rules apply.
But the thing is that government started engaging small business. Right now, we're saying, how can small business engage our government? We pay them. They should be engaging us. They should be coming to us and saying, how can we help you build small business in California?
Look, when a company's broken, let's say this government is a company. Let's say it's BlackBerry. BlackBerry doesn't go raise their prices right now and start double charging their best clients. Right. They got to get competitive in the marketplace. They got to lower their pricing. Encourage me to stay here, literally pay me to stay here because I'm productive, and these guys are as well.
All right, when we come back, I'm going to let the man with the biggest jet do more of the talking, all right?